right now at fogapparel.com, Fraternity of Girth, you can get 25% off their last couple of releases. That includes a Fog of War shirt, which I'm rocking currently. Also a bunch of stickers, the Heathen hoodie, all that is 25% off. They're making room because they got a new collection coming. It's the Level Up collection. We've only seen one preview image. I'm pretty stoked about it. Okay, I've seen more than one preview image. Sorry, you guys. You peasants out there, you've only seen one preview image, but I have seen more. Awesome collection on the way. So make sure you grab some stuff for cheap right now at Fraternity of Girth. You can use code HEAVYLIGHT to grab some of the older stuff. And when the Level Up collection comes out, you're going to use that Heavy Light code. Save 10% on that too. Do it. Talk about a concept episode. I'm coming in with a bit. I'm coming in with a zany bit this time, guys. It's pretty zany. So I put out a call. I was just walking around the house in my normal moronic haze, trying to figure out what to talk about in the next podcast. Am I going to write it down this time? Am I just going to keep it inside my booze-addled head? And I decided, no, I'll put all the responsibility on all of you out there. So, but I really thought it would be fun because I realized that we're all missing the games, and that's been like the number one thing on my mind. Is it makes me realize now that I want to do more games than I have in the couple of years before. I want to do more games, and now I can't. I really miss it, and there's a lot of parts of it that I miss. And one of the things that I miss the most is just the insane shit that you see in Highland Games and Scottish and Celtic festivals or Ren fairs, wherever it may be. Like, there's things you only see there. And that was my voice in the background on my phone. I'm surreptitiously, bonus for that word, by the way, pulling up the answers to this in my Instagram story. But I wanted to ask everybody out there, what is the weirdest shit you've ever seen at a Highland Games? And that is, look, that's asking a lot. Like, there's no way I'm going to get to all of them, but I'm going to go through as many as I can here before, honestly, I get too tired or I just get bored. It's a possibility. That's what you have to deal with. Again, that's the problem with a one-man show. There's nobody else over here to prop this up and say, like, what else is interesting? No, once I run out of interesting, I just say goodbye to you guys. Heavy Light is brought to you by Throw Bros. That's what happens. As soon as I run out of ideas or patience, that's what you get. So let's go into this, though. I wanted to ask some people, and I'm sure this will spark some memories because I have some wild things that I've seen at Highland Games. It's funny though, like when I sat down and thought, like, what is the craziest thing you've ever seen? I couldn't decide on one, so I'm kind of hoping some of these will jog my memory. Maybe I was at some of them. Let's see. Garrett says Ben Stamps. That's mean. Ben Stamps is a lovely person. He's a lovely person and a good thrower. Officer Ben Stamps. Officer Stampy was heavily featured on a previous episode of the Heavy Light podcast. Yeah, he's a weirdo. Whatever. He can be the weirdest thing you've ever seen at a Highland Games. Let's see. Oh, cool. Some fake account saying, check out my newest photography. Jack Coleman, Silverblack Jack. Jeffrey Dewar. Jeffrey Dewar gets mentioned episode for episode more than any person, I think. It used to be Zach Church for a while. Who else was it that got mentioned every episode? It was like Matt Hand for a while, but now Dewar is definitely the king. So let's see this whole... Jeff Dewar throw Braemar further than Openstone. Yeah, no, that's happened before. Some other people, I'm sure plenty of people have done that before. And a tie with Dickens tweaking nipples before throw. Now, again, that just speaks to the level of, I don't know, human interaction we're talking to here. Like the level of maturity at Highland Games that I don't see Dickens tweaking his nipples before throw to be anything highly unusual. He does have small nipples for a man that big, though. That is something that we're going to have to deal with when he gets back on the podcast, which is good. If you got to choose, if you're going to choose between nipples that are way too small and way too big, I think most people are going to choose way too small. But I don't know. I'm sure there are a lot of preferences out there. I'm sure there's a subreddit for every different nipple size, right? I'm sure it exists out there. But that'd be my personal preference. But he does have small nipples. Big pecs, small nipples. It's a good combo, though. Like, aesthetically speaking, that's a good combo. It's better than small pecs, big nipples. It's far better. Dewar throwing Braemar further than Openstone, though? Yeah, that's believable. Dewar is by his own admission, great when he gets to stand still. So that's probably why. And the reason he probably boned it on the open stone is he tried to do too much. Instead of just standing with a lighter stone, he tried to move his feet and do some other bullshit or shuffle or spin. It just didn't work. And that happens to a lot of people, man. Look, I've said it for what feels like decades now, but it hasn't been. But there are really primarily two types of throwers. There are people that are good when they don't. There are people that are good when they move their feet, and there are people that are good when they don't have to. Jeffrey is definitely the latter of those categories. And then once in a while, you get people that are pretty good at doing both, and they become world champions, and we all hate them, right? And then we lift them up for a while, and then we tear them down on social media and correct their throws when nobody's asking, and then we accuse them of doing drugs, and yeah, that's what we do, right? Just like every other string sport, we have our method. So have I ever done that? I've come close. I think I threw like a 32 Braemar once and like a 33, 34, I think at Texas Scottish Festival or something like that. I can't remember what it was if we threw a Braemar then. But yeah, I've that's one that can occur when you try to do too much. I don't think it's that unheard of though. Let's see. Too Tall John. I always read that as Toodle or Total John, but now I realize saying it out loud, that's Too Tall John. I bet he's very tall. This one should be fascinating. Giraffes and elephants at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. I've never been to Minnesota. I've never done Minnesota, probably because I'm not good enough to. I don't live in Minnesota for one, and two, I'm not good enough to get invited to Amateur Worlds. So as an A, that's probably why I haven't been there. But giraffes and elephants. How do you justify giraffes and elephants at a Ren fair? What's the tie-in? I'm sure during the Renaissance there were a lot of vacationing and conquering Europeans that went and found giraffes. Oh, look, it's a giraffe. Like they'd know to call it a giraffe. Like that French guy would be speaking English and know to call it a giraffe. But they'd just look at the long-necked thing. And they'd shoot one and stuff it badly and bring it back. Or they'd keep it captive in the court of some asshole baron or something like that. That's probably how. But are you trying to recreate that particular social... that particular piece of culture, the capturing baron? I don't think so. I think they're probably just like, hey, kids like elephants and giraffes. Let's put some fucking elephants and giraffes over there. Yeah, but hey, we're a Renaissance fair. Yeah. But fuck, kids love the giraffe. You can feed it a leaf. You can go up in a tower thing and feed it, and its face is right there. And it's very, very Renaissance. I'm not sure how that is Renaissance. No, it's very Renaissance. This was something. Da Vinci was a big proponent of the platform giraffe feeding. Just go read it, look it up. Giraffes. I'm really trying to wrap my mind around why they have giraffes and elephants, other than just there isn't a good reason. It's just money. It's because you're operating a Ren fair, which is usually, with a few notable exceptions, at least one in every 3 states probably, they can be successful. But in general, that's a tough business proposition to run a Ren fair. Especially some of the ones that run like year round. That's a tough proposition to make money at those fucking things. That's a lot of overhead and a lot of filth and a lot of weird people that you have to deal with, a lot of weird personalities, and not too many ways to make money beyond like ticket sales and concessions. So yeah, get some fucking wildlife in there. I don't know what else I don't know what on brand. The Renaissance isn't known for its, how do I put this? The Renaissance isn't known for its outdoorsmanship, most everybody lived close to outdoors, don't get me wrong, but I don't think there were a lot of naturalists at the time. Somebody please reply and tell me a Renaissance era naturalist that was doing big things, and I'll be wrong there. Giraffes and elephants. Yeah, that's a pretty cool one. Yeah, learn how to use Instagram, Mike. Find your answers here. Let's see. Marriage proposal. Felicia Baltrin, Throw Bros athlete, says marriage proposal. Aw. Was it yours? I don't remember how you and Mike did the thing. I don't remember that. I just remember when I started sponsoring you, you were Felicia Baker, and then I remember you got married, and there were pictures and stuff, and then I remember that you were Felicia Baltrin after that. It really, really hit our bottom line really hard to change all of those documents from Baker to Baltrin, so... Still making that one up to us. Marriage proposal. That is cute, though. Look, if 2 people are really into the shit, I cannot imagine for the life of me. My wife loves and supports what I do, but I never ask her. I've never asked her except for the one time, to go to a Renaissance festival or a Highland Games or a Celtic festival. Like, it's always been like, she's been cool with it and wanted to go. But there was one time back in Dublin, Ohio, way back forever when I was like second year in the sport, that my son was only 3. And God, that was that long ago. It was me and Spencer were the only like A type throwers. Not like personality or blood, but an A class throwers. That's the one I think I've talked about before, where it's like, it was Spencer in 1, a huge chasm in points, then me at 2, and then another huge chasm between second and third. It was just a weird group. But so yeah, big ups for me. Got some hardware that day, right? But yeah, she took him to that one. It was hot as miserable, 3-year-old kid. And it took like 8 hours when it should have taken 4, just like every other Highland Games in North America ever. And after that, I never asked her to go again. She has gone several times since then and always been supportive, and she offers to, but I've never been like, you got to go do this. Like, I just understand. Like, no, this isn't your thing. This is my thing. But I cannot imagine had I proposed marriage to her at one of those. Thankfully, we were already super married by that point. Like, I think, what year are we in at that point? We're in like year 4. I think no, we're in like year 7 at that point. So we're super married at that point. She's, there's nothing I could do to embarrass her any further than just existing in her life at that point. So I can get away with the Highland Games stuff now and then even, but I could not imagine me saying like, hey, let's go to this Highland Games thing where I'm going to wear a kilt. I'll paint my face half blue. And then, like, make a bunch of really bad jokes in a bad Scottish accent all day. Get half in the bag on Belhaven. And then I'll ask you to be my wife. Can't imagine that. Because she's not into it. But see, if I had, like, if I had a time machine or, like, a reality changing machine, I guess there was changing machine. That's stupid, Mike. If I was just a different human, just try that. And I had a girlfriend back in my 20s or 30s or whatever, and she was in Highland Games too. Sure. All right, cool. Yeah, I could see that happening. I'm not going to shit on it because it's not for me, but I could not imagine it for me. Let's see. Spend 10 minutes shitting on something and say that I'm not going to shit on it. That's the Heavy Light Podcast, guys. What is the weirdest shit you've seen at a Highland Games? We're going back to another athlete's dick. He got drunk, took off his underwear, and started flashing people. Again, bald thrower guy said that. I can't remember your username, who you are, and I'm too lazy to look for it. But I don't know how new you are to the sport. I don't know how long you've been around for. I don't think that's... Again, it is weird shit if you're the one looking at it. But I guess, you know what, the first time you see, like, dick or ass or labias or the labes or boobs at a Highland Games, I guess, like, you'll think that's strange, but it's out there. It's all just skin, man. We're all just skin. We're all just people. I'd love to know who that was, actually. What was the dick like? Is this good dick or bad dick? Is this a dick like when people saw it, they were like, oh, yeah, happy to see it? Or people like, oh, no, put that away. It's what we expected. Like, that's what I want to know. Like, whenever, like, a dick exposure happens, I'm kind of curious about the quality of the dick. I don't know what we're dealing with. Got drunk, took off his underwear, and started flashing people. I mean, I appreciate the got drunk detail. I think that took off his underwear... I could have sussed out. I could have figured that out. Started flashing people. Yeah, again, it's seeing his dick. But you know what? That is an important detail that took off his underwear, because you can just see somebody else's dick by accident. It slips out of the side. Let's say they're throwing in tighty-whities or a jock strap. Oh God, can somebody please throw in a fucking jock strap? I have a jock strap, by the way. Really need to work that. Need to make that part of the rotation. But can somebody throw in a jock strap? Can we make that a thing again? But I could see how you could accidentally see a dick. That could totally happen. Or like, without them taking off their underwear with the purpose of doing that, I could see that happening. So yeah, not the but still not the craziest thing for me in my mind personally, I guess. I'm not trying to judge. I'm just saying like, that's all. It's weird and it's wild, but it's not like out of left field. But then again, I didn't say out of left field. I just said weirdest shit you've seen. And you know what it was? Maybe the guy had a really weird dick, and that's why he answered this to the weirdest shit you've seen. Maybe this was a really, really weird dick. All right, Mike Murphy came back with a slew of answers here. At Scarby, short for Scarborough Fair, where I had an existential crisis with a wet sheaf. When Matzo smokes... I heard about this. When Matzo smoked Svevar's wife in the face with a 20-pound sheaf. Svevar Sigurstensson is an Icelandic buddy that threw on the East Coast and in Texas for a while. And he and his wife were sweethearts. And she would very commonly be at games cheering. And I guess, as the story goes, Matzo lost the handle on a 20-pound sheaf pole when he was an am at the time at Scarborough Fair, Renaissance Fair. And apparently, yeah, it ended up in the region of her face. She was okay. It's a thing, like, sheaf can go really, really bad because it's so high and it's usually so close to the crowd. And they do weigh a lot, and it's weird. It could go super badly because it's heavy no matter what you do. But generally, it's just pillow enough, like, to where it's really just like somebody gets bodied by a big person. It's not as deadly as, like, the really dense implements. Now, I've seen a kid just get waylaid with one. I've seen tents get crushed. I've seen it fly into the stands. I've seen them destroy captain's chairs. But I've never seen anybody badly hurt by a sheaf. But you know what? As technology advances, as Throwbros makes a more advanced sheaf, we're going to make them so small and dense that eventually they're just going to be like cannonballs. We'll just be throwing a burlap 16-pound shot, basically. What else you give me there? Murph, did you give me another one? You did. When Spencer threw light hammer through some dude's window in Arlington. This was just before my time. They used to throw at Arlington, but when they were on the field at UT Arlington, they used the athletic fields, which was awesome, under the lights. They would throw hammers, and it would always, as people got better and better at hammers, and hammers really became like a thing in the AMs, not just like what a few freak people could do. They had to keep pushing that hammer field back and further into the corner because there was, like, you're basically in the corner of a long rectangle, and you have to make a deal with the devil at some point, like where you're going to make hammers go, because you probably have one point of the fence that's like 130 or like 125. Like, I hope if they throw it, that they don't throw it and it goes left, and that instead it goes to the right side of the field. And you're like banking on everybody being right-handed. That's a good hammer thrower. Who is the best left-handed hammer thrower in the Scottish Highland Games, by the way? Let's debate that. Somebody tell me. But Spencer, apparently, this was before my time, but apparently he launched one and it went through the window of a car, the back window of a parked car that was over there. And apparently also smashed a case of beer or a 12-pack of beer or something, which is probably the biggest tragedy of the whole thing. But that must have been a good throw. Spencer really struggled with hammers as an amateur, and that's one of the reasons he held off being pro for as long as he did, even though he's thrown such big numbers overall, and he was always had just a super amount of talent. But he was always kind of worried that his hammers were going to hold him back. And I think, in a way, they were. He could throw some big ones once in a while, but he wasn't, like, throwing true pro-level hammers in his mind. And by the numbers, he wasn't. I mean, he could have hung in the pros. He would have been fine, but I think he wanted those to match up. But that must have been a good one, a beer smash and throw. Saw an AD use a caber made of 2x6s and wrapped with heavy chain. Hey, what the fuck? Maybe with heavy, it was 15 feet, 165 pounds. Maybe a bit much with the chain. So I've got I've got that YouTube video out there that everybody's seen apparently, where, it's basically I stole the old plans that Matzo and somebody else had talked about in the past, but Matzo did in his on his old blog, and then he did in his first book. But I just did a YouTube video of it basically because I'm not creative. I just steal everything. But I did a video of me building it, and I have a 2x6 caber. It's made of like 4 2x6s that are liquid nailed together, held together with decking screws, and then I used a planer and a sander on the end to make a pick. And it sucks because it's only like 95 pounds or something like that, but it's really fucking hard to turn because it has zero taper. And the pick is really awkward and big, and you have to like rest a corner of it into your shoulder, like the corner of a 2x6 into your shoulder, because I didn't want to plane the thing all the way up to shoulder height. That seems like manual labor. I didn't want to do that. But yeah, so anyway, point being, I've got one of those 2x6 built, homemade cabers or whatever, and I never thought, like, it'd be cool is in terms of adding weight, who the hell has ever thought let's add chain around this thing? Because that'll go fucking well. Let's add what's essentially a long rope made of steel or iron that we can wrap around an implement that's going to be carried and then flipped really fast in the air near people. How? I mean, I've seen some creative shit to add weights. I mean, I've seen people like literally fasten like Olympic plates onto them before that they didn't care about, like tins that fit on the side or like fit on the top. I've seen Ed Cosner hammer rebar into the end of one, just pound it into the cut in, the cross cut in, not the pick end. Just pound rebar in to get more weight in the top, and that thing went from like, oh, that's a turnable caber to, oh, this is the greatest caber of all time. Not greatest in terms of we can turn it, like the greatest humbler of Highland Games athletes ever. Nobody turned that fucking thing. It felt like somebody was drilling a hole through your hand with an auger because it was so heavy. And then when you went to turn it, it just didn't fucking move. You would just sit there and pull and it would just in your hands. Just, you're trying to get it off your shoulder. You're trying to shoulder bump it. You're trying to keep moving. Just, and nothing. Made me look like a real asshole. That little growling thing did not help with the pipes there. Made me look like a real asshole in my sport kills. And that's right, all the way back then, back in all those crazy stories, everything that I've ever done in the Scottish Highland Games, I have done in sport kilt, because sport kilt makes, wait for it, the best kilt in the Highland Games. They make the best possible kilt for anybody that's going to spend a lot of time at a festival, that's going to spend a lot of times outdoors and being active. So if you're a drummer, you're a piper, you're a Highland Games athlete, you're an enthusiast, you're an absolute weirdo that dresses up like a Scottish dragon or whatever, then you still need a kilt, man, and you still need one that's durable. So a Scottish dragon, that'd be fucking cool. If you, no matter which one you are, though, you need a kilt. So go to sportkilt.com. Use code HEAVYLIGHT. You can get a kilt. You can get all the traditional gear. You can get good kilt hose. You can get athletic socks. You can get sporrans. You can get flashes. You can get a sweet multicam hat, which I am rocking now as my favorite lid. It's one of the coolest things ever made. I don't know how that flew under my radar for so long, but I got one, and that's one of my favorite things ever. So go to sportkilt.com. Use code HEAVYLIGHT. Just grab it all. Do it. Do it right now. Okay. Couple more of these. Watched one dude stab another guy in the shoulder with his sheaf fork. Went deep. Oh! That is from Jessup66. Oh my God. In the shoulder? Y'all remember a few years back that lady stabbed herself through the leg with a sheaf fork when she was delivering? Obviously fairly new. I still think this could happen to anybody, and I'm not going to be shocked one day when it happens to me. Hey, because look, we're all people with decent sized quads, right? Like, there's a little more in the way above the knee. It's possible. But I remember this was all over the Highland Games community. It didn't make it into the news at large, which I think is really good that it did. But I remember she was like on the downswing, just jammed the fucking fork right into her leg. I can understand in principle, like broadly, I can understand how it happens. But actually, like doing sheaf, I don't understand how it happens. Because I would really have to make a concerted effort or have a very serious spaz out for that tine to go into my leg. I should not say these things on record because I am going to stab myself in the leg one day, and everybody's going to come back to this episode and be like, you remember you said you don't believe you understand generally, but you don't understand specifically? Yeah, that's what'll happen to me. But no, I'll die. I won't ask for help. I'll run it right through my femoral artery, and I'll just die right there. I'll bleed out on that black burlap with the Throwbro sheaf, and then you just bronze that and put it on my tombstone. That's all I want. That's what I want you to do. But I remember that lady, she put it through, and it's pretty clean. I think it was just all flesh and meat. I don't think she hit any blood vessels or any major nerves or anything like that. But whew, man, it was one of those you looked at as like, oh man, now I'm thinking about that when I throw. The closest I have come is I have ripped my own kilt completely off my body through the sheaf. I did that in Greenville, South Carolina. Though it was windy that day, I threw against David Robinson that day. I remember that. He was a cool guy to throw against. He threw a high sheaf, and he was named the same name as the Admiral. The Admiral? The Admiral. He was named the same name as the Admiral, David Robinson from the San Antonio Spurs. I grew up in San Antonio, so of course, when I saw David Robinson was in the A class, I was really stoked. I was less stoked when I saw that it was David Robinson from our sport, but still pretty stoked because he's a nice guy. First time I threw against Shane Sutherland. Is that it? Yeah, that was the first time I threw against Shane. That was the first time I really threw in the Southeast, and I've gone back many times. I love it there. And that was Aaron George's first games also, which we've talked about before, that Greenville games. That was his very first games. So yeah, I ripped my kilt completely off my body. There was a wind behind us as we were throwing. There was wind in my back. And on the downstroke, I just managed to nab some of the fabric of that amazing sport kilt and ripped it clean off my body. No puncture in the sport kilt, by the way. I don't know how. I did not puncture it, did not tear it. Like it just, like I didn't have my buckle done, I guess, and like I just was counting on the Velcro, rookie move, and just ripped it clean off. So I stood there in my underwear with no mark in the sheath on that height. So cool story, Mike. How did he get it into his shoulder? I guess they were just standing around, probably just fucking around. Watched one dude stab another guy in the shoulder with his sheath fork. Went deep. That detail hurts, man. That causes a twist behind the belly button area. Ugh. Went deep. Like, I mean, did he bleed a lot? I want to follow up on this one. How did I never hear about this? How did I never hear about the dude getting... Well, probably because he wanted to keep it, fairly quiet. Good job, Jessup. You fucked it up for him. Hey, were you the dude getting stabbed? Is that why you're saying you watched it? You're just saying, oh, a friend of mine got stabbed in the shoulder. I'm trying to envision how that happens. It's obviously not going to happen on a throw, right? Nobody's going to stand that close. If you do, I mean, you get what you fucking deserve, right? They had to just be standing around, fucking around and talking. And everybody, if they're going to start drinking, is usually around sheaf time because there's a lot of time to wait. And especially if you're not, you're not in the running, or if you are in the running and the prizes suck, so it doesn't matter. Or if you just been doing the sport long enough and you want an excuse to drink at 3 p.m, outdoors amongst friends, then yeah, that's when it happens. So I could see you just standing around because you kind of do that stance where the stick of the fork's in the ground, you have the tines up by your face, but you got your hands on it. You're kind of leaning on or whatever, maybe the tine's away from you. And I can just see, man, but the amount of force it takes to really get it in there. That had to be like a turnaround. What's my vision here? My vision here is that he probably heard something really cool happening at the games around him. Maybe his favorite sheepdog was about to get let out of the cage and just run buck wild on those fucking geese. What? If they're sheepdogs, why do they do geese? Can somebody explain that? I asked this like there's somebody going to pipe up in the room or somebody's going to write me a certified letter. I've never really known. Is it just a thing that geese are also a species that sheepdog have to do? It's a sheepdog. It's not a goose dog. But maybe he heard that his favorite sheepdog was let out. And he was turning around as he heard, I don't know, what's a good sheepdog name? As Angus McBarks was let out of its cage. What the fuck is wrong with me? Angus McBarks was let out. Angus McGruff. Angus McGruff. But there's McGruff with crime dogs. Feels derivative. Let's go with McBarks. Angus McBarks running roughshod all over the geese, giving them whatnot. And he hears it happening because he's a big fan. And he turns with fork in hand from the aforementioned stance. waiting his turn around the sheaf standards. And he turns and goes, "Oh, shit." And right as he turns, all excited, he leaves that fork in his hand, and it turns, and it goes into, I don't know, let's call him Brad. It goes into Brad's shoulder. Deep. Went in deep. That's what it is. So that's another thing you can blame on those goddamn sheepdogs. Heavy Light is brought to you by Throw Bros. Throw Bros is the only online store for Highland Games athletes. Gear up, get throwing. Use code HEAVYLIGHT, all one word. You're going to save 10% at throwbros.com.